If we could count down or to start.
I think he said just to.
Oh, just to start. Okay, all right. So if anyone's watching, so sorry, we're in the council building, and for the first time, all of the commissioners are here together. I'd like to welcome all of you. It's nice to see all of you in person. Put the, the body to the face, if you will. Sorry that we starting a little late. We had a couple of technical difficulties, but we are set. I am Mariana Cordier, and I am the chair of the Redistricting Commission. I want to welcome all of our viewers to this meeting. I want to make some clarifications that the public is not aware of, and that's that in reviewing the charter, I had mistakenly thought that we were obligated to have a public meeting. When reviewing the charter, it became very clear to me two things that we need to clarify, and that's one, that we will be presenting to the county council one map, and that is because in the charter, that map would become law depending on timetables and decisions that get made or not made by the county council. And that the public meeting that is to be had is to be done by the county council, which makes sense because they're the public officials who have the responsibility to the citizens, and we are volunteers. I'd like to emphasize we are volunteers. So with that clarification, it changed on the agenda the discussion that we're going to have with regard to our dates with regard to the public hearing. We will not be having a public hearing. That does not mean that a public hearing will not occur. A public hearing will occur. That is what is done by the county council. The other thing that I wanted to point out and to clarify is that today we're going to have for the first time an opportunity to view the maps that have been created by the commissioners. There's 3 groups, and it's exciting to see the hard work and dedication that they have committed to doing this process. However, we need a little bit more time for the input and comments and digestion, if you will, by the rest of the commissioners. And so we're going to do all the presentations and talk about the maps and everything today, but we're not going to vote on them. We're going to vote on them on October 20th. So we'll deal with that when we get down to the agenda about our schedule. If we do that, ladies and gentlemen, there is a huge possibility that we will be able to present the county council after October 3rd, because we meet on November 3rd, because we meet on that day. We have to vote and finalizing everything. But we would be submitting our final report and recommendations on that day. So we would be early because our deadline date is November 15th. So with that, I will proceed. Certainly. You got to flick so that it's red. And I think I flick off when.
There we go. Sorry. Okay, I understand that we are not required to hold a public meeting. Are we, public hearing, are we prohibited from holding a public hearing?
No.
Okay.
No.
So that's something we can consider today then.
We could, but we're out of time. We're running out of time. And I don't want to supplant the county council's role in what we're doing. And the fact that we had such a successful outreach and have gotten so much comments and so much, what's the word I'm looking for? Input from the community. I think in essence we've had multiple public hearings, if you will. And also, we have had the sheet that folks were able to complete and submit their concerns and such. So I think that in reviewing the charter, to comply with the charter, I'm concerned that by doing a public meeting, we may be taking away the opportunity for the public to comment to the body that is going to decide the map. We don't decide the map. We
I
are.
understand that, but our whole public hearing doesn't prevent the county council from having one.
No, it does not, but the actual problem that we have is the logistics for actually setting it up is becoming difficult and such that we can't physically do a public hearing because of the timing and the issues that we're having. Technical issues is what I'm referring to. I'm sorry, Keisha?
Yeah, so, again, yeah, so to clarify, if we're not going to hold a public hearing, the public only gets to comment on one map instead of two maps.
That is correct, because we're only allowed to submit one map, as Sam has pointed out. So the only map, we can only have one map submitted to the county council, and that's as a result of how the charter is written, because if the county council does not do certain things within a certain time frame, our map turns into a final map. But that's not going to happen because they are waiting for us to submit a map to have their hearings and meetings and all of that.
Can we have a vote on that? Is it possible to have a vote on having a public hearing or not having a public hearing?
So,
It's a logistic issue.
one, we could have a vote on it, but that doesn't consider the logistics that we can't possibly, we at this moment, we can't do it the 27th. And the 20th is the time frame that we need to be able to have everybody have the opportunity to, comment and tweak the maps. First, I haven't had that opportunity to talk to Jason about his map specifically. So I would like that opportunity to do so. And if we do that, then the earliest we could do the public hearing, if we had it, is November 3rd. And they're going to have a public hearing anyway. So we are the volunteers charged to draft and recommend a map. We're not charged with deciding at the end of the day what the law is with regard to the districting maps. The county council is supposed to do that.
If you're giving the public less of a choice.
No, not at all, because they can reject our map entirely. They don't have to accept our map.
But you're only allowing them to make comments.
But they've had the ability to comment throughout all of these.
But not on maps.
Okay, so hold on a second. Valerie and then Dean or Bruce.
Anybody else have their hand up first? I would just like to say that I'm really proud of this commission.
Wait, Valerie, switch it.
I'm really proud of the commission. I should know, I used to sit at this dais. I'm really proud of the commission for the work that it has done since April on getting us to the point where we are tonight, which is the opportunity to share some maps with Montgomery County residents. So I'm really happy about that and feeling really good about the hard work that's gone into all these maps. That's number one. Number two, we have done an extraordinary job with outreach. I personally have done 9 outreach meetings myself, and I know between me and my 10 other colleagues, they have been around this entire county giving these very detailed reports on the work we're doing, what we hope to accomplish, and how we're going to set about doing that. Also, third, based on everybody's input on what the charter actually says we must do, we've come to the conclusion that the county council will receive one map. And I know that because of all the hard work we've done, and I think we've gone over and above in terms of our willingness to have full access to the general public as it relates to our work, that we now need to finish what we were charged with doing, which is to come up with a map to send over to the county council so that they can do their job, which is to engage the public even further with a public hearing where they could have one public hearing, and council members, if they think they need another one, they'll have another one. So I think that we have done yeoman's work here. I'm really proud of it, and I think that we should continue with the maps tonight and have the discussions that we need to have and come to some agreements on where we want to tweak these maps to make them the best maps that they can be, so that when we are able to get to a map that we send the county council, we let the county council do their work as the charter has drawn out for them. I don't understand why we need to keep coming back to whether or not we are allowing the public's ability to respond and react, because we've been doing that for months. I think it's time for us to kind of wrap up our work and give it over to the elected officials whose job it is to come to a final decision on the map for the county.
Well, one small comment. We're at the point that we're just frankly wasting time. We're starting to go in circles. If there's a pressure to hold the public hearing, which I don't think we as a commission need, then let's take a vote on yes or no and make it our decision. But, you know, as basically been said, we've had inputs out the kazoo. And yes, they have not seen these three maps, but nobody has seen these three maps except the people up here. And basically for us, tonight is the first time. We made these maps based on our own abilities, our own knowledge, and the input from the public all over the county. The council will take the map that we send them, and it will be their first time to get inputs from around the county, and they will get it from all jurisdictions. And every group that came to us that had a serious concern, if they feel we didn't address it, they're certainly going to go to the county council and tell them, oh, the commission didn't do this or did do that, and we didn't want them to. So that's where the cliches are bounding in my mind here. That's where the rubber meets the road. That's where it's going to happen. We've done our part. And public input, we've had it. And then top it off with the logistics question. I'm content to just go ahead now, and if, rather than spend more time on this discussion, I think we need to end it.
I'll second.
I third.
Philosophically, you
Make sure
second.
you turn off the
Yeah.
mic.
Okay, so.
I second.
So I just wanted to clarify that really, because of we can't do the public hearing on the 27th, the decision is whether or not to vote tonight and then have a public hearing, or not. Well, what I'm saying is we couldn't do both. We couldn't have a meeting to vote on the 20th and also the public hearing, and the next week is not available.
Well, so, right, because you need to have the public comment on the map that we select before, the map that we select before it. They have to have the notice and time to see it and submit their comments and solicit the time to comment. And so the 20th is the date that we're voting for what map we're all going to put forward. And then the public needs to, if you're going to do a public hearing, the public has to have an opportunity to see that. They're not going to be able to comment on it after, do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I was just kind of clarifying that it's kind of not in our
Yeah, so
hands.
what
We can't vote to have a public hearing, and
So to clarify, if I'm correct, Bruce, your motion is to vote right now as to whether or not we have a public hearing.
Correct.
Okay. Nelmini?
I don't want the logistics to drive the policy decision, like the tail wagging the dog here.
Well, but
I think that-
let's be clear, there is no, in the charter, there is no obligation
Right.
for us, so.
I should be able to finish
I'm sorry.
my thought without.
No, I just wanted to clarify that it's
I
not,
understand that. But we had all agreed before this meeting, until this very moment, that we would have a public hearing. And we did great outreach. I'm not disparaging that at all. But it was without maps. And when people have an idea, it's very different than looking at a map and responding to it. And I think we owe it to the people of Montgomery County to give them an opportunity to respond to our maps so that we can build that into our final selection and recommendation. It doesn't preclude the county council from having further public input, but it's just an opportunity for us to make the best possible maps for the people of Montgomery County.
I am inclined to follow the guidelines of the charter. and the charter says that the public hearing is done by the county council. And so if that's what the charter and the law says we're supposed to do, then I don't see any reason not to follow through with that. I understand the desire for the public hearing, but these are unprecedented times. The census information came out late. You know, I talked to Jason, he told me that he was working till late last night, and I admire that effort, but, you know, not everyone can put that equal effort at this time in that way. So we need to take our time and apply it as the charter meant for us to apply it. And that's, we're not taking anything away from the public. I think Dean and then Bruce. And then David. Oh, sorry, I'm sorry, Sam, because you're on the other side of me. It would have been nice to be on that end so I could see everybody, but.
I would like to make a motion. Bruce's motion for 5 minutes. Because I would like to introduce another motion first. It is more important, and then we can go back to Bruce's and they fit right in together.
I'm not going to entertain that. That is, yes. That would be an improper motion at this time. Dean, what is it that you guys think?
I wanted to point out, without contradicting anything Valerie said, we did have discussions with the public, but I noted, I'm surprised you didn't, every single one of them, people asked about maps, and we said we had agreed not to show the public any maps until we had this meeting. So people are waiting for maps, they want to see it, they want to comment on it, and our job is to give the best possible map to the county council we can give. I don't feel that can be done without the public commenting on the draft maps. If the motion to hold a public hearing is defeated, I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, we're no longer obligated to prevent the public from seeing the maps, since they're going to see it tonight anyway. Some of them are going to see it tonight in the broadcast, and therefore I fully intend to widely distribute the maps and take any comments people bring me and bring them back to this body.
We have made a public presentation to over 35 groups throughout this county.
All of them, we said there's.
And we told them that our process
They all
was
had maps.
the original process that you have here as listed, which includes a vote tonight on the maps that are going to be presented. And I think we are doing a disservice to the public. We're doing a disservice to transparency and an open process if we don't follow those procedures.
I disagree, because the slides and the presentations that were given was about the facts about the communities and interests and the ground rules and the.
Make sure your mic's are on when you're speaking.
I'm sorry, I disagree with that characterization, because when we did the slides, we made sure that the presentations everyone was giving was equal and the same information. And in that, it did not provide information with regard to the public hearing. It did provide the information about the ground rules, what those ground rules were, about the statistics with regard to the county and the population and the growth. And I understand that there are commissioners that would like to have a public hearing, but based on the fact that we are going to present, hopefully sooner rather than later, the 3 maps with the methodology in which they were created to the public, the watching public, and Dean, if you would like to distribute any and all of those 3 maps, that is your right to do so. Within the thought process that we're going to be tweaking them, so I don't know how much you want to really distribute them. If you want to create multiple maps out in the public that, you know, let's remind the public that we are not drawing the lines for the schools, and that was a misconception. Friday, I had someone tell me, why did you split Gettysburg and Rockville? It was a second misconception, because we voted to keep them together. So we have to be careful, and we do have to be transparent, and I believe we have been transparent. However, the need for doing our basic legal obligation according to this charter does not require that, but it does give us the opportunity and time required to do what we do have to do. And that's, we're not denying the public any opportunity. They can comment from now until whenever they meet with the county council and beyond. David?
If we ever get through this, we're going to be presenting maps today, if we can finish this conversation. Those maps are going to be displayed. They're 3 thoughtful maps with different ideas. At that point, the public is free to comment on our website, to email us as they've been doing all these months. There is no lack of opportunity for them to comment on the things that we are about to present. Just because we're not having a meeting doesn't preclude anybody from giving us their input, it seems to me.
Arthur and then,
I got skipped.
oh, I'm sorry, Bruce, Arthur, and then Keisha.
Number one, the comment before about, we had talked about having a public hearing. Yes, I in fact was in favor of the idea of a public hearing when I thought it was required, but it's not required. And I'm looking at the schedule as the chair has talked, and if we had the public hearing on the 20th, then we have to wait for the public inputs, which means we don't get all of them together till, if we're lucky, the 27th. People don't necessarily respond right away unless it's a real horrendous issue. And then we get it on the 27th, and we got to start to input those changes. How on earth are we going to finish this by November 3rd so that the staff can get it in on time? I would like to call my motion, and if it fails, it fails. But I hope that we would proceed and go on and look at the 3 maps now. And I definitely agree with what David just said, that we're putting this out. This is public material right now. You can give these maps tomorrow morning to somebody if you like, and they have the opportunity to go on the website and make an input. County council won't have that luxury. They will put the maps out. They'll have 30 days to their hearing. They'll get some inputs ahead of time, and then they'll get a few people at their hearing. But right now, I would like to see the question voted on, yea or nay.
Okay. All right.
He said what I needed to say, but I, on Facebook, just follow what's on Facebook. They're ready to see the maps. And I call for the vote so that either it's up or down. And I agree that this information is out in the public. They'll be able to see it tonight. We've had multiple meetings, and we need to discuss what maps needs to be reviewed tonight. We need to review the maps tonight and tweak them as we go forward, because we don't have time between now and November 15th to get everything together and submit it to council before our deadline. So I call for the vote.
All right. All those in favor of not having the public meeting, please raise your hand so we can count. For public hearing, please raise your hand. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. All those opposed? 1, 2, 3. All those abstaining? 4.
I'm abstaining.
Jason's abstaining.
I'm abstaining. I just don't think.
Okay. So the vote passes. There will not be a public hearing. All right. So that goes to quickly. I'm sorry, Sam.
Yes, I would like to make a motion that this committee follow Section 104 of the county laws, which includes the process of what you're speaking, to not vote on maps today, which includes we should vote on the maps today, because we included within 104 an agreement back to September where we agreed to follow the process as listed here in our original agenda. And I feel that any change of that process is a serious violation of 104. And I ask for a hands-up vote. We don't need a debate on this, because it's, to me, a non-issue to violate the law.
Well, with an allegation of violating the law, I would ask that Jeff clarify what is in fact the law of the Charter Section 104.
And then, just so the panel knows, in my former life, I was a legislative attorney for the county council, and now I'm a volunteer. Section 104 does not mandate your procedure. It mandates your action by a specific date. It mandates action by the county council once you have acted and given them something. It does not state a procedure that you should use at all. That your appointments are controlled by the charter, but not your process. Your process, the result of your process must be a map, because your single map would become law if not amended by the council within 90 days of receipt. The council must hold a public hearing on your map, but they need not act, or they can act and completely disregard your recommendation. But that is within their authority. But as an attorney, I see no violation of Section 104.
So to be clear, there is no violation of the law as was stated by Commissioner Zatlin with regard to doing the vote on the final map that we will propose to the County Council on October 20th, 2021.
Point of information. Back in September, this very issue came up when we set a process of how we were going to operate, which follows this agenda. And David sent out a copy of 104 during that discussion. Therefore, what we did and what we are doing follows that process. So I respectfully disagree with what you're saying.
Okay. Well,
So noted.
so noted. No one seconded the motion, so the motion cannot proceed. And we will move to the next agenda item. The next agenda item is the approval of the September 23rd minutes. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes? All right. Does anyone have any corrections or changes or comments that they need to make on the minutes? No? All right, so I would move that the minutes from September 23rd be approved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Valerie seconds. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Anyone abstain? And unanimously passes. All right, now to the best part of this meeting. Let's talk maps. So I'm going to call each map developer, if you will, by the order in which it was submitted, if that's agreeable to everybody. Any objections to that? Nope. All right. So that would be the first map was created by the efforts of David, Keisha, Laura, and Valerie. And so I turn the table over, or the microphone over to you guys. Oh, and for purposes of timing, we're doing 10 minutes each presentation. The staff is timing you, and then 15 minutes for questions, comments, debate, and the rest, okay?
Eric, when I'm talking, can you zoom in? Okay. I'll tell you when. This map was created, as you said, by myself and Valerie and Keisha and Laura. I'll just say a couple things in general before we start. We resisted numbering any of the districts because since we're going from 5 to 7, we don't want to connect our proposed districts with the old districts. So I'm going to be describing them with a name instead of a number to try to avoid that confusion. The other thing is I'd just like to say that no map is perfect. And certainly this map is not perfect, and we are looking forward to, I'll talk about the districts and why we made them the way where they are, and I'm certainly looking forward to all of your input so that we can tweak the map and hopefully make it even better with your input. So having said that, this map meets the charter requirements. The districts are compact and contiguous. We did not divide municipalities. And the deviations of the population are within the limits, the set limits. The map respects the growth of Black, Hispanic, and Asian communities in our county by creating 6 of the 7 districts that are majority people of color. We had already decided that we would unify Rockville and Gaithersburg, and so it is so done. We feel the map meets the eye test. When we look at the map, it looks logical. The boundaries are in logical places. We're very proud of the Plurality African American District that's created in the East County. We're going to talk a little bit more about that shortly. We create a strong Hispanic representation in the Wheaton-Aspen Hill District. The map produces an up-county district stretching from Travilla to Damascus, enabling focused attention on those area concerns. And it creates another district that captures both up-county and mid-county regions, therefore further providing representation to up-county while at the same time representing mid-county interests. So those are what we see as the major features of this map. And I'm just going to sort of go through one by one of these districts and just talk really briefly about them. So we'll start with the red district. Eric? The red district covers Bethesda and Potomac, whereas the current District 1 goes all the way up to Potomac. This is a more compact district that goes up through Potomac and a little bit of Travilla and North Potomac. It is I mentioned that we had 6 out of 7 majority people of color districts. This is the 7th of those. That's District Bethesda Potomac District. Next one is the blue one. So this is an up-county district. It contains most of the agricultural reserve with the exception of the Laytonsville area. It will give the up-county a dedicated council member. And the current proportion of District 1, the rural portion of District 1 up around Poolsville, has been moved now into the up-county region, keeping those common interests together. Okay, this district also has the highest Asian representation of all these districts, comprising 22% of the voting age population. The next one is our East County District. And I'm going to yield to Valerie, who is going to talk briefly about this district.
Thank you very much, David. For the group of folks that I've been working with, they know I've been doing a lot of historical research on East County as it relates to the African American population. So on November 1st, 1864, Maryland was actually one of the first states that freed all those held in bondage a full year ahead of the 13th Amendment. And from that moment forward, in Montgomery County in particular, freed slaves started to purchase their own land. And because for many reasons they were not able to buy property, those who were automatically right away built schools because they could not send their children to public schools. So the full participation of African Americans in Montgomery County wouldn't be fully realized until Brown v. Board in 1955, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Voting Rights Act of 1965, and the passage of fair housing laws in 1968. Our county was, just like all counties around the nation, engaged in redlining. There were covenants which prevented African Americans and Jewish people from owning homes in these areas. And so when we look at East County from its historical framework till today, a lot of the families that settled in East County are still here. Their descendants are still here in Montgomery County. And I wanted to just briefly go through a quick list of East County historic African American communities, many of whom still exist. Friendship, Claggettsville, Brook Grove, Etchison, Unity, Brighton, Mount Zion, Pine Hill, Spencerville, Good Hope, Colesville, Smithville, and Sandy Spring. And so I think this map indicates for me, very proudly so, the work that all of us are doing to ensure that people who were at one point in our history not allowed full participation, will be given the opportunity in this map and many of the other ones, in the other two that we're going to see, an opportunity to really exercise their voting rights in ways that they've never been able to do before.
Thank you for providing that history. So this district would be a 36% plurality for the African American community, and it respects the lines that that people, when we talked to, we heard a lot from people in the East County about where the top of that district should be, and so it goes to the top. If you could zoom in just a little bit. It goes to the top of Spencerville and Cloverly and does not go into the Olney area. That's our East County district. The middle one is the Rockville-Gaithersburg district. This is kind of dictated by the decision the commission has already met. Once you put Rockville and Gaithersburg in a district together, that's pretty much the district. So there it is. Then down to the Silver Spring district. Light blue. So this district contains Tacoma Park and goes up to Kensington. And I just want to address something that we've been talking about a lot. We wanted, in order to respect the Wheaton district, which I'm about to talk about, and the East County district, we needed to move the blue district, give it some more people. And we chose to move it over into the Chevy Chase area. We've been hearing a lot from the commissioners over the last few days and listening to their concerns. We're really feeling that we need to tweak that part of this map and move some of that Chevy Chase. It's not the municipalities of Chevy Chase, but it's the suburbs, if you would, of Chevy Chase. And move those back into the Bethesda district, and hopefully that's something that we can accomplish in the tweaking process. And then the Wheaton district. So this district provides the strongest Hispanic voting of all of our districts. It contains Wheaton, Glenmont, and Aspen Hill. It is disengaged from the Olney area, as the current District 4 is, and we think that that will really be a historic opportunity for Hispanic representation in our county. And then the last one is the, that district. We struggled a lot with the name of this district. We went back and forth with what to call this district. And we ended up with the somewhat awkward East Up County, North Mid County district, because it really is a district that is representing much of the Up County area of Laytonsville, Goshen, but also has all of Olney and Sandy Spring in it. And I think this was really important, really crucially important, to have a district here that has that whole area of Olney and Sandy Spring in it. The people of those areas spoke that, and also when you consider the East County district, the fact that Olney is in this slightly northern district is able to create the integrity of that East County district that Valerie and I were speaking about before. So those are the districts. Again, this map isn't perfect. We really would like to hear your concerns, comments, so we can get to the tweaking process. And that's our presentation. Did I do it in 10 minutes?
Yes, a little bit. Thank you so much. Okay, so now let's start the 15-minute period for comments, questions, or whatever. So hold your hands up so I can see them, and I'll call you guys out in order. If I miss somebody, please let me know. So, no, Minnie and Sam.
I'll start with a question. When you were describing the East District, you talked about the African American communities, but then when you were describing the Mid-East North right district, you also talked about how Sandy Spring was in that. So if you could maybe clarify for me where Sandy Spring is and where it belongs in the kind of the narrative supportive of your map. And I appreciate you talking about Chevy Chase and moving it to Bethesda. I think that is very responsive to feedback. And one question or concern that I had was on Asian American representation. It's kind of broken in this, and I'm worried it dilutes the Asian American community around the Clarksburg, North Potomac area.
Can you be more specific?
Kind of where Cedar Grove, the Cedar Grove, Southeast Clarksburg community, breaking that up from the North Potomac Asian community.
Eric, can you move the map up there?
So,
Oh, and make sure it's on.
it's on, I just am muffled, and I already am a low talker, so that really doesn't help. So I was just asking about the Asian American representation around Cedar Grove and Clarksburg, breaking it up from North Potomac.
Can I just clarify,
Yeah.
because I want to make sure I understand what you're saying. So are you saying that Cedar Grove being apart from Clarksburg, or how does North Potomac fit into that question?
well,
That's what I'm a little confused about.
It's kind of, it's separate from the part of North Potomac that's very Asian.
Okay,
So I was thinking that if those were connected, you would have a higher Asian population.
Okay, so you're saying
So it would not dilute.
so you're saying a district containing Clarksburg, North Potomac, and Cedar Grove?
Yeah.
Okay, I understand that.
You know, I understand there's like lots of trade-offs.
Yeah, that's a tough one, but yeah, okay.
And then I was concerned about population disparity
Uh-huh.
around the Wheaton, North Bethesda district, but if you're moving Chevy Chase, maybe that can get fixed. And then I was also concerned about breaking up Germantown.
You mean that we have that little corner of Germantown you're talking about?
Yeah.
All right. One of the issues, and I think maybe the commission needs to talk about this, is the granularity of the map, and that the tool sometimes doesn't allow us to take small enough parts of a precinct. I don't know if that's the case in this particular one. I'd have to look at it. But I will definitely write that down. To answer your Sandy Spring comment, the input we had was that Sandy Spring, those people consider themselves more part of the only district, and so that's why we put them in with only.
Yeah, I mentioned Sandy Spring historically because they have been a community with Quakers, and it was on the Underground Railroad, and it was also considered, it's east enough that it could be in the East County, but I always mention Sandy Spring as sort of like a beacon of the African-American community in Montgomery County, and that's why I mentioned them.
I just misinterpreted.
Yeah,
that
not a
as
problem.
part of the East District.
And then the other thing I'll mention, Minnie, about the population, I think it's very, I talk about this with my students too. It can be a sort of a false pursuit to try to get the populations exactly, really, really close to each other. They're really not meant for that kind of precision. In fact, populations change all the time. And the numbers from the census are not, in fact, the numbers exactly today. And that's why we do set up those boundaries. But I'm with you. The Wheaton district could use a few more people. I'm with you. And I think with that tweak that we've been talking about with the Chevy Chase, that might help that. But I appreciate your comments a lot.
Sam?
Yes, first I want to say how pleased I am and pick it up exactly on what Valerie was speaking to. And I'm very pleased that all of the maps that you're seeing tonight contain that particular district. The biggest deficit I have in the map is, and we've talked about this, I believe that the light blue area should not divide Bethesda and Chevy Chase. And there's testimony after testimony after testimony where the voters agree to that. And then thirdly, I believe that the District 1
I didn't number them, Sam.
I'm sorry, the light blue district should not include Bethesda, because I don't think that the folks in Bethesda have a commonality with the people in Silver Spring. But I think, as you'll see in other maps, have a better commonality with what we're calling a Latino district in Wheaton, and it brings communities back together.
Eric,
But other than that, it's a nice map.
Thank you, Sam. Can you tell me go down to the light blue so I know what Sam is talking about? Which regions you're talking about? I know you're talking about the Chevy Chase in here, but what?
We need to go more left. Where you have Walter Reed, Bethesda,
Okay, so you're talking about that small part, yeah.
Bethesda, Walter Reed, and
Okay, I understand. And that's the part that I really do believe we need to do some.
up there to the left on over 355, which is a
Yeah,
traditional border.
okay, I understand.
Okay.
Thank you, Sam.
Jason?
So I also agree that, there's definitely some parts this map that I like and, agree with. The East County and is similar. One thing is that, you said the map has a strong Hispanic group in the Wheaton area, but I just want to point out that it's actually a 32% white plurality there. That is, it has a strong secondary Hispanic, but is actually, I also had a question for you, David. What do you use for when you say plurality in East County, the percent? Is that the percent of African Americans divided by the percent white and then to a percent?
When I say plurality, I mean the
percent
percentage
plurality.
of the voting age population is the highest.
Yeah, yes, no, I was just wondering if we're using the same terminology for how we come to the number of, sorry, let me just, where is it? This 36, it gives us a 36% plurality.
Oh, I meant 36% of the voting age population is African American, which is higher than the others.
Okay.
That's what I
Okay,
mean.
I was trying to go back, okay, let me just see. Okay, I see, okay. When I'm going to say it differently, and I'll explain that. And then the only other thing, so my main issue with this map is in the up-county areas. The North Potomac is split, Trevilla is split, Germantown split, Clarksburg split, Damascus is split. I know that it's tough with the way the lines go, but it seems like this blue district has most of the split communities. The other thing is that when Eric, who's on the staff at the planning department, when he did a map, one of the things he looked at is how many sides does a district touch, and not having one district go more than one entire side of the map. In this one, we've actually has it reaching into 3 different sides and going almost halfway down the other. So I just think that kind of points out the size of this district, and I know that there's a lot of areas here that have a low number of people, and to some degree that's unavoidable, but I just think that that part of the map is what I have the most issues with.
Okay, I'm not sure I concur about the whole side theory. Some of those small bits of those communities we could fix if we can tweak at the granularity of the district, because some of those, like the little bit of Clarksburg, the little bit of Damascus, all of those are because of the size of the precinct, and we could certainly fix those easily if we can get within the precinct in order to do the tweaking. And I hear you about the Hispanic percentage in the Wheaton district, that we could tweak that to be a little higher. I hear that concern.
Arthur?
Just a comment. You could say that you could tweak it a little more if you had the precinct data. Are we going to be able to get that data or to that level?
I mean, census data is tracked and blocked. You can go down to that level. It'll be up to Park and Planning to see if they can accumulate it then, if you split it that low. Right now, your tool is set for precincts. The Board of Elections has asked us to stick with precincts to not add to the complications of their lives, but you can go below it if you wish. And you can get data.
But I guess where does that leave us at this point if we're trying to get down to granularity before we vote on a final map?
Eric, do you know what it would take you to do an accumulator by tract and block? That is, can you get the total? Oh, okay, then.
I think it's advisable to stay at the block group level, which is the level between a block and a tract. We've been told by the census itself that because of their privacy protections, the accuracy is best at the block group level. The blocks themselves are very, very tiny and may not be accurate, but we can provide data at the block group level.
Any other questions? Comments? Concerns? Keisha? Make sure you turn on your mic.
Thank you. No, I was just going to say, if that was the last comment on this map, that I think that this group worked really hard to have or draw this map with an equity lens and ensure that communities of color have adequate representation. And, you know, there are, as David and Valerie said, you know, this map isn't the perfect map. There are tweaks that can be done. But at the same time, we do want to make sure that communities of color have the representation that they have long deserved. And I think this map does that.
Do you want to?
I just want to conclude and just really thank Keisha and Valerie and Laura for working so hard on this, certainly for teaching me a whole lot about the communities in Montgomery County, and all the rest of the commissioners who have been freely giving us their input. I think it's going to get us to a really good map at the end, so I just wanted to thank everybody.
I'd like to thank you guys also and join in David's comments. Good job for working hard and getting us to this point with your map. And with that, I will call Jason. You have 10 minutes for your presentation.
All righty, thank you. If you could please pull up the PowerPoint presentation. And I'll just let you know when to, if you could do presentation mode, please. I'll just stay in this unless people have specific questions, I can go to my map. All right, so I'm Jason Maxson. I proposed this map. It was worked on with multiple members of the commission and the idea of my map is to try and take in all of the input so that we get a map that everyone is able to agree upon. Next slide, please. So all charter requirements and ground rules have been met. It's compact and contiguous. There's no district that stretches an entire side of the map. They all cover about one half a side. 6 of the 7 districts are majority people of color, including 2 voting age non-white pluralities. District 5 in East County has an African American plurality for both voting age of 5.4% and total population 23%. District 4, Weed and Aspen Hill, has a Hispanic plurality for both voting age 10% and total population 27%. Municipalities are preserved, and it was attempted to maximize communities kept together. The districts are very close, within 2.05% of the average district size, which is much better than the required 5%. Next slide, please. So this slide shows the communities and municipalities layer that we're going to take a deeper dive into. Note that for calculating plurality percentages, the following equation was used. Highest percent racial ethnic group divided by second highest percent racial ethnic group, and then getting a percent from that, which shows what percent the first is higher than the second. And I've also got the net differences I added too, but they're not on the slides. Next slide, please. So this is the new District 1. I did choose to name them Bethesda, Chevy Chase, Potomac. It keeps Bethesda and Chevy Chase together as requested. Also includes Potomac, and this is the only white majority district. Next slide, please. New District 2, Rockville and Gaithersburg together as previously agreed to by the commission. The population is pretty close, so it just goes like that with the two together. Next slide, please. This is District 3. District 3 starts in Tacoma Park in Silver Spring and then follows the train line northwest. These communities are all based around transit, which is a good common link. It also keeps together Kensington, Kengar, and Garrett Park, which was part of the public comment that I observed. Next slide, please. This is the new District 4. This is a Hispanic plurality district that includes Wheaton, Glenmont, Aspen Hill in their entirety, and other surrounding areas. The Hispanic plurality holds for both voting age, as I said, 10% or a 3.09% net difference, and total population, 27% or 7.5% net difference. And this slide shows the demographics breakdown. You can see the Hispanic pluralities for both voting age and total population. Next slide, please. The new District 5, the East County District, is an African-American plurality that includes all communities that were identified as being part of East County during public comments. The African-American plurality holds for both voting age, 5.4% or a 1.75% net difference, and total population, 23% or a 6.68% net difference. Next slide, please. This slide shows the District 5 East County demographics breakdown, and you can see the African-American pluralities for both voting age and total population. Next slide. Thank you. New District 6 is a middle up-county district that includes ag-reserve sections along the northeast, along with some more urban areas such as Montgomery Village and Clarksburg. It gives voice to those in quickly growing areas like Montgomery Village and Clarksburg, along with rural interests that are their neighbors. It's very diverse with no predominant racial ethnic group. Next slide, please. New District 7 is an up-county district made up of Germantown and a district with its neighboring areas creating a strong up-county district. These areas share an interest, and many ask to be together in public comment and meetings. Some examples of shared interests are White's Ferry Connection and the Quarter Cities Transit Way, which plan to serve these areas together going up to Germantown. Germantown is the biggest census-designated place in Montgomery County by population and deserves a strong district. This district also has a very high concentration of Asian and Pacific Islanders, just over 24% for voting age population, and a lot of diversity. Next slide, please. So as an example, this is an image from the presentation given to us by the planning department. I added two circles showing communities of interest that both have a very large percentage of Asians and Pacific Islanders. Our map keeps these areas together in District 7, resulting in the concentration discussed in the previous slide, which is closer to a plurality than any of the other two maps, so it is not a plurality, just to be clear. Next slide, please. This slide shows the population of the area considered by most to be up-county. As you can see, it's 350,000 people, which is more than two districts' combined population. It's important for these areas to have proper representation that actually live near them. Next slide, please. I do have a few possible variations on this map I want to share, and hopefully this can give you some idea of the flexibility depending on what goals the Commission decides to prioritize. This is map 1B. It makes Olney whole in exchange for some compactness in District 4. The African-American plurality in District 5, East County, becomes a very large 42.8% voting age plurality and 70% overall population plurality. Again, this is my calculation of the percentage greater than, not a net value. The District 4 Wheaton Aspen Hill area has a reduced plurality of Hispanics to 5% for overall population and a white plurality of 8.6% for voting age population. In both measurements, this is still a stronger Hispanic district than either of the other two maps. Next slide, please. This was just a without the communities layer, so you can see what they look like. Yeah. 1C. So this is possible amendment map 1C. It combines Germantown and Montgomery Village to create a second strong Hispanic District 7 with a small white plurality. District 6 becomes a more rural district, keeping these communities of interest together. I just didn't think that the U-shape would pass based on looks alone, but it does allow for more people to be in the districts that line up with similar communities of interest. So I think that's a very strong part. And the possibility remains to do one or both of these options as they don't interfere with each other at all, or something else not yet created based upon the feedback from the public and the other commissioners. Next slide, please. This is just the picture without the layers on. So that brings us back to the map that I proposed. Weighing these alternatives and others, we felt this was the best version of this map to put forth, but we are open to comments and feedback from both commissioners and the public. Next slide, please. This just has the full demographic charts, and you can see highlighted in bold red are the plurality numbers. And then next slide is the same for voting age population. And these should be similar to what's in the packet. So, thank you.
All right, now we enter the time period of 15 minutes for comments, questions, and concerns. And Valerie has her hand up. Please raise your hands if you want to have a chance to comment, and I'll. Okay, so I have Valerie, David, Keisha, and Laura. Oh, I'm sorry, and Sam. Hi, of course.
Push trees.
All right, I have a question and a comment. First of all, well, two questions. So I think I wrote this down right. Did you say that Germantown has the largest voting population in the county?
Yes, it is the largest census-designated city in Montgomery County.
So I need to draw this out because this is very important to me as a commissioner, because I keep hearing that people in the Up County believe that they're not being represented in the same way that people who live in other areas of the county are. So if Germantown has the largest voting population, why aren't, I'm just trying to come to an understanding about the narrative that I keep hearing from you and others about, oh, the Up County thinks they're not being represented on the county council. And if we have so many people living in the Up County and this largest voting population, tell me how that could be, how we could be saying two things at the same time. So either people in the Up County just don't vote, and that could be part of it. I don't know. It's something that maybe we should look at before we send this map over to the council. I think the narrative that is being put out is a narrative that's very troubling to me, that we want to use this as an opportunity to redraw these maps in the redistricting process to ensure that people who have a different geography up north have more of an opportunity to have representation because this narrative is out there in the community. So that's one. The second one's much easier. Let me just put them both out. The second one is, which map which of your maps is the map? Because you just gave us 4 maps. So what do we got going on here?
So I'll answer the simple one first. This is the map I'm proposing. The other ones I'm open to and just kind of showed as an example of small changes to this map without really drastically changing most of the districts, mainly in the East County and the Whedon district and the Up County district. Those 3, nothing else gets touched in the modifications. Well, the one has an additional one. But so let me just, I guess, address the elephant in the room with the Up County. So,
wait. So
what?
the answer,
Sorry,
the
is this
answer
one?
to the question is,
Yes.
This is your map, and we showed the other ones to do what?
Because I would like to, I'm open to other changes if the commissioners think that one of these other options.
I just don't think that's fair, because we could have done the same thing. We could have presented 4 or 5 maps too, but we were told to come with a map, one map.
I've got.
So that's just interesting, that's all. Okay.
Okay.
We can move on.
I mean, you all are also free to take in comments and adjust your
Indeed
maps.
we can, but I'm
and-
just saying, if we're playing by the same rules, it just seemed a little strange to me.
Okay, I didn't mean it to be like that. I meant to do it instead of me being on the map and showing where possible adjustments could go and just saying, here's a map that I actually went through all the adjustments, and then here's another one. and what the results were. So I didn't mean to. Regarding the up county, I think there's definitely multiple factors at play. The voting numbers are certainly part of why the at-large tend to be in the down county area, and I don't think anybody here is, we're not trying to change that. The districts that are that we're making are only based on population size. The other thing is that previously we had a district that stretched from downtown Bethesda all the way up to Poolsville. And then the other district served Germantown, but then came in with a small leg that ended up in North Potomac. So North Potomac was on the border of 3 or 4 different districts, and yes, thank you. The North Potomac and Darnestown were both split, so they were half in the Bethesda Poolsville district, and then half in the Germantown district. I think that with the population in Germantown, there's certainly going to be one up-county district, likely based if you just look at the proportion of population. But I think the argument is strong that there should be 2. And I think that the way that we divided Gaithersburg and Rockville also makes it so that those sides stretch, so that it's possible to make maps where there's 1 or 0 up-county council members. And I think that, there's a lot of needs in up-county, and they're different, and they're different in different parts. Germantown is not the same as Poolsville or Damascus. There's all sorts of different needs based on where people live. So I don't think I'm asking for Up County to get more representation. I'm asking for them to get equal representation.
Okay, don't forget you've got a couple of other people who have questions for you.
I'm done with that.
So David, you had the next question, and then it's Keisha, Laura, Sam, and then myself.
Well, Valerie asked some of my questions, so I won't repeat. But can you, Jason, explain why you took the East County District up and included much of Olney into that?
So for this one, what the reasoning was is that I could not get enough people by keeping enough people without including part of Olney to get that strong Hispanic district around Wheaton and the strong African American district in East County. So I really don't like that, and that's part of why I felt the need to show some other options. That that if I could change one thing on this map, it's definitely that Olney split. But it actually goes along Georgia Avenue, the entire line, minus that little chunk that comes out. So I do think that it's defensible as a geographical line that goes up there. That's what I tried to stick to, and that's why it keeps going up instead of just taking, like, for example, Olney. And then, it was similar to the same issues you had with the granularity. Yeah. There's that section, you know exactly what I'm talking about, in Sandy Spring, right, that goes all the way up. So you either have to have that or not have that. And so once I was there, I was just trying to fill in the, color it in.
I believe the reason, though, I understand you say it's about the Wheaton district, but it's really a result of the Germantown. It seems like, to me, this is just a comment on the map. It seems like we're starting with this issue of Germantown and building the rest of the district, the rest of the county, all around that one district. That's fine, but that seems to me what the focus of the map is, and the result of that decision of what you called a strong district in Germantown, which I'm not sure what that means exactly, but I think I have an idea. I think some of the other decisions come along with that decision, and I think the moving of the East County up north into Olney is really, in my opinion, a result of that. But thank you for clarifying.
Keisha, it's your turn.
Yep, just 2 questions. One, I was hoping that you would be able to provide the demographic breakdowns for the other 2 maps that you provided. And then the second question I had was also on the the opposite map, or one of the option maps that you showed.
Oh, yeah, I can
It
certainly.
looked like it was, there was an error.
Point of order here. So we got one group that's got 4 maps, and now you're asking for more data on those maps. Let us go back and do the same thing for all the other maps that we have proposed. I just think that's outrageous. This is not the exercise we were asked to do.
I don't have the data now, so it would be something I would come back to in the future. So.
How about,
Well, we
I
are
would say, why don't we just
edits on.
tweak the one map that was proposed, right? You can,
Well, that's the tweak.
That's, yeah.
I'm sorry?
That is the tweak.
It's
And
right, it's to
asking
resolve
for
the
data
issue
on the
of.
tweak.
It may be the tweak, but it's not the tweak for tonight's meeting. The only map that is presented for tonight is the one that's on the screen right now. So that's what we should be discussing. The tweaks will occur after this discussion.
I'm not discussing, I was just asking for data.
No, it will come, but not as part of this discussion.
1B and 1C are not on the table right now.
That's correct.
Yep, that's correct.
All right, so just so we're clear, 1B and 1C are not on the table. The only map that is on the table is the one that is actually on the screen.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Did you, oh, sorry.
Question.
It was,
the-
I thought there was an error on one of the options.
Oh, all right, well, we can discuss that offline then, so, yeah.
All right, so then the next question or comments would be Laura.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I think just going through all of this, including the 2 tweaks, the 2 options, I think highlights probably to the public how difficult this exercise really is. And that, as we've talked about before, that there's a lot of pushing and pulling. And not everybody is going to be happy with it. We can't be all things to all people. And I think that your map and going through these really highlights that. So I just think that's a good thing for the public to view too, on how difficult it is and how much effort we're putting into trying to incorporate everybody's concerns and getting the pluralities right. So I appreciate all of that. My question about this particular map is sort of following on from what David said with the Germantown and the contagion effect that it causes. We did have specific comments, written comments come in on keeping the Brookville, Olney, Sandy Spring, Brighton group together, as well as a little bit Laytonsville also. So I think that this sort, and there was more than one of those comments, so that's something to keep in mind. I think that we all are, but that sort of is the one standout for me. I think it does a good job of combining Bethesda and Chevy Chase. Again, you get the contagion effect going up and coming across with the population considerations. And then I wondered about Leisure World. It looks like Leisure World has been split a little bit, and we had many, it's not, I can't tell. It looks like it goes straight across Leisure World. District 4 cuts the southern part of that, or is this just?
So I thought that was not a part of Leisure World, at least from my understanding. I was definitely not trying to split that, so, yeah, it's
We're down to 1 minute.
the way that the maps are printed shows overlays the name over there.
Because it's not.
See, like now when it's zoomed in, if you see, it shows Leisure World. It's just that. So, yeah, I guess there's a little slice.
Part, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We are out of time for the 15 minutes. Why don't we let the other presentation go, and if we have extra time, I'll come back to you, Sam, and we can revisit it. I'm just giving equal time, 15 minutes for each presentation.
Yes, but you're not giving equal time to us to make comment.
That's fine. Is everyone okay with letting Sam?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Sam.
Well, first of all, I think Jason did an absolutely dynamite job. I like his statistics. I like the layout of the map. The philosophical differences Dean will show you between his map and the Jason 1 map. And secondly, to answer part of Valerie's question, the reason we're seeing all these maps and the way Jason is showing all of these maps is because we changed the ground rules at the beginning of this meeting, or we would have only seen 3 maps and we would have voted on them.
Those are my comments.
Thank you. All right, so now for the third map that is being presented, which is the Council District Scenario. Dean, who will be presenting? Okay, Dean, the floor is yours. You have 10 minutes and then 15 minutes of questions and answers.
Thank you. I will take most of the 10 minutes and then give whatever's left at the end to Sam to add his comments, since he's my seconder on this map. But I want to start first off by thanking the staff for doing such a terrific job with with all this stuff being thrown at you at the last minute. I appreciate it. I also want to thank the other commissioners who gave me important feedback, especially Sam and Nilmini and Jason, whom I initially started out working with, and David, who frankly I stole a lot from. So I'm just being honest. Now, my map, if you look at it on the screen there, you'll see that what I've deliberately tried to make a compromise between Jason and David's maps to take what I thought was the best in each of them. Now, as the members of this commission know, and as I think anyone watching has figured out, that's not so easy because every small change you make has sometimes unintended consequences. Nonetheless, and again, I'm going to echo David, no map is perfect, and this map is not perfect. But I think that I have addressed what I thought were the most important factors that the people that we talked to in the presentations wanted to see done. And I'll identify them as we go along. But I'm going to refer to the different areas by color since otherwise we get confused if we use numbers with the current districts. If you look at that map, you'll see that first off, with regard to the blue color, the dark blue or bright blue, you see that it represents what might be called the up-county area. We managed to include a lot of in the rural area. We got some of North Potomac in. Again, if we didn't include North Potomac, we would have pushed down on the other side and come up with a U shape, which wasn't very compact. But North Potomac, I think is not too dissimilar from the other areas that are included there. On the green area, this is where I put together Montgomery Village and Germantown because we had gotten some feedback that was desired. In any case, here it is. And if it's not, well, we can do some tweaking. But it gives those areas look demographically somewhat similar, and it has a very, very nice surprise for us. There's apparently a huge Hispanic population up there, and if you, we'll get to the demographics later, but it actually gives us a strong Hispanic area. If you go to the, let's go to the yellow area. Okay, well, what everybody else said. You put Rockville and Gaithersburg together, that's what you get, so let's not spend any more time on that. Let's go to the, I guess, reddish-orange area. Okay, no, that's not it. Okay, the area that includes only.
Red.
Red? Oh, okay. Because the East County looks red to me on my map, but anyway. There you go, red area, thank you. Now, this is one of the places where I think that my map has an important improvement, and that is that you've got Sandy Spring, you've got Leisure World, you've got Norbeck all together. And I really heard that that's what they want. So I think that's important. Obviously, there were some trade-offs, but I think you've got a really decent looking, region for what David referred to as mid-county, up-county, whatever. I'm calling it northeast county because it falls between the north and the east sections of the county. Then if we go down to the east county, which is the other red, purple here, okay. Now this, all of the three maps, I'm glad to say, respected the desire of the East County to be kept together. Right. That is not, that's not what's in the packet. I'm sorry. It is. No. What is this then?
There's a difference. It appears in the packet here. There's
a map in the packet, and it does not.
And what's here?
And the map in the packet is what I submitted. I'm not sure what's going on
So
here.
which one are you talking to? The one in the packet?
The one in the packet. It says proposed Montgomery district map AFA.
Disregard the big one.
Is it in your saved
I don't know
maps?
if,
You might have to go into your saved maps.
well, okay. Let me go into my saved maps then. Because if, it looks like my saved map got screwed up then. Because, yeah,
Because you said they were just going to pull up what was on your.
yeah, I know. I agree that I had confirmed that, but something is wrong.
Wait, you can just look at this one.
Well, see, the map, the map as I had intended to submit it, and I apologize, I'm not sure what happened here.
So Dean, just to clarify for everybody, they should be looking at the map that's in the packet.
Yes, and the map in the
Okay.
packet.
So everyone, look at the one in the packet, not the handout, Sam. Not that one. It's the one in the packet.
I got it. Go to the back.
Because the map in the packet does include Burtonsville in the East County, which I believe is desirable, or at least not objectionable. What do you mean, 4 more counties?
Communities?
Communities, yeah, that's right, it includes more communities, because we wanted to keep, per Valerie's earlier comments, we wanted to keep as many of those communities in there as possible. Anyway, if you want to go to the light blue area,
It looks like Eric's got it.
and again, I don't know if this is not going to, this differs from what you have up there. But the light blue area is, I call Wheaton Silver Spring. Now, this is, this has the desired strong Hispanic representation, despite the fact that I have another area that also has a strong Hispanic representation. Here we have,
Yeah, wait.
The picture shows the other one.
Maybe you could just describe it.
okay. It's, okay, it starts at the district line, including,
Eric, maybe you can pull up the PDF.
including Tacoma Park municipality, up to Silver Spring, to the northwest, Kensington on the west, and Rock Creek on the east. It borders White Oak, does not include White Oak, and goes up towards the Glenmont area. but it does not go all the way up deep into Aspen Hill, or to include Leisure World. Then the final segment would be the Bethesda Chevy Chase area, and here we've kept Bethesda and Chevy Chase intact. The two main advantages of this map over the others, there are some other minor ones, but I won't dwell on them, is that we keep the only Sandy Spring, Norbeck Leisure World area together, and that we keep Bethesda and Chevy Chase together. The disadvantages that I see are, first off, that Damascus is split up somewhat, but again, since both parts of Damascus are in areas that are homogeneous to the contiguous part, I think that's less of a flaw than moving Leisure World, say, into the East County.
Dean, you have, you've already passed.
I passed, I'm
But just a heads up, but I thought you wanted Sam to have a minute. I'll give Sam a minute.
30 seconds.
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to remind commissioners, we do have to end right at 6:50 tonight because the broadcast team has to broadcast another thing at 7. So it just cuts into comment, question, and answer, and there'll be no closing.
Okay.
And point out that the clock on the wall is about 5 minutes fast. But watch it.
Sam's got.
What I really like about this map is that it's a blend. See my shows on. Okay. What I really like about this map is that it's a blend between Jason's map and David's map. And I think it goes more to the expectations of the public and public comment. And of course, I hope that it does not divide Bethesda and Chevy Chase. I think it does a great job out in the East County area up towards Burtonville. And I just think it's a very, very good appealing map, especially when you look at the demographics, which are more balanced. Deficits, as mentioned by Ahmad, I agree. So thank you, Ahmad, for doing this. It's a great map.
Okay, so I'm going to play in that. I have a comment, then Nelmini, then Bruce, and Jason, and Arthur. I'm sorry, and David. Sorry. All right, so my comments with regard to the map that's in the packet. So I'm just going to look at that one, since that's the one that was submitted. I have a little bit of concern, and maybe it's, I don't know if it's the granularity or whatever, but Germantown is cut up. Clarksburg has a little bit of a cut up, and Damascus. And I find it really hard to see Potomac lumped in with, the Up County, because it's not for Up County. So that was one comment I had. And the other one was to have Aspen Hill lumped in with the same district as Olney actually dilutes the Hispanic vote. Aspen Hill should be with Wheaton. So those are my two comments. I don't know if you want to address them, or we'll just throw it out there and then move on to the next person. Well, let's just move on to the next person. That's just my comment. Nelmini?
Propose that we put all the proposed maps on our website so the public can see it, because it's hard for them to see it from the recording. I also wanted to appreciate the maps for really taking into consideration the Up County. The last two maps thought about that thoughtfully. As I shared on email, when you look at the population of Montgomery County, you break it into 3. 7 council members are in the bottom third. 1 is in the middle third, and 1 is in the top third. So that evokes the feeling of not being represented. And that can't just be explained by lack of voter turnout. That's very much because of the way the districts were drawn. So we really need to take care that we aren't drawing districts that undermine the interests of the Up County. We heard that repeatedly in our sessions, the community sessions, and I really am concerned that we are disregarding the feedback we got clearly from the Up County people if we don't take that into consideration. consideration. I also really appreciate the last two maps for keeping the positive activities together. And I think it's certainly interesting to keep Germantown and Montgomery Village together. I think it would be really helpful if we had public input to let us know if that was an appreciated move or if they would prefer to be separate.
I'd just like to remind everybody, we're here for redistricting. We're not here for voter turnout and grassroots mobilization for getting voter turnout. We're just doing the districts for the county council. Bruce?
One key comment, as a resident of the Up County, this one is disastrous, Dean, I'm sorry. But people in the Cabin John area next to the Beltway and the people in northern Damascus should not be in the same district, period. That cannot work. Those people have zero in common other than the fact that they both live in Montgomery County. So the district is just too far down to the south. That's one of the complaints of the Up County, whether they're one district looped over the top or two districts. The fact that they go down, not just even to North Potomac or Potomac, but all the way down to the Beltway, that's A and B. It doesn't go together. So that disturbs me completely for this map. The other things about Silver Spring and handling Bethesda Chevy Chase, I think that kind of work went pretty well. But that Up County district is just, I could not possibly accept that as currently drawn.
Jason?
So some people have said already that splits Germantown, Clarksburg, and I also agree with Bruce that, the shape of the Up County district, the same thing I said about David's map, is it reaches three sides, and in this one it goes even further down south, so it's even bigger. Also, similarly, with the Whedon district, it's got a 23% white plurality for voting age for general population, and a 40% white plurality for voting age population. So similar issues in terms of Hispanic representation. Thank you.
David?
I'm a little concerned here that Tacoma Park is in the East County with Burtonsville. That doesn't seem congruous to me. I'll just leave that there.
Okay, and Arthur?
All my comments has been noted. I don't need to add anything, which was basically, in addition to splitting Germantown, I think everybody has kind of touched on some of the concerns I have as well.
Okay, so I would like to say, though, Dean and Sam, good effort and work for presenting a map to the commission. I am saying this to all three groups. Thank you so much for doing this. It's really hard work. It is not easy. We have a hard stop at 6:50, is my understanding, and it's 6:44. So what I was going to do is, at this point, tell everybody that, and announce the public, our next meeting is October 20th, and we are voting on the 20th for the map that we're going to present to the county council, okay? And then we'll have 2 weeks to come up with the draft report that has to go with it. Bruce? And then Arthur?
One quick thing, and I've made this comment to several groups in the past week or two. This map, whichever one we choose, will be so much better than the one that was created 10 years ago and the one that was created 20 years ago, when they did not have this kind of computer technology backing us up. So every time we move a precinct, we know where the numbers are going, where the ethnicities are going. This map is going to be a good map, period.
Arthur, and then
Compared to the past.
I just wanted to summarize. Our task going forward from tonight is basically commissioners get with the different groups, if you so choose, to provide additional input or input to the maps to see what needs to be tweaked. And on the 20th, we come back and vote on the map.
Yes, and I would say please share the maps once they're tweaked with the rest of the commissioners, right? So that we can inspire this conversation to really get working to maybe getting it down to one map. Now, Minnie, and then Sam, and then Keisha.
So what's our process for submitting the tweaked maps, and how are we going to?
just share it via email with each other for everyone. You could send it to Pam, and Pam can make sure to send it to everybody if you like. I think that's probably the cleanest way to do it. Just make sure that you give it a name, draft 1 or version 1, version 2. That way there's not a lot of confusion. I would keep the names. I would keep I would call it the first one step best effort. I would call David, Dean, and Jason so that we know for the original base map we were talking about. And put the date on it, yes.
Will we be able to post the original map that we discussed today, as well as the tweaked maps on the website?
I would not do that. We're going to post on the website what we've done today, and then we're going to look at the finalized proposed maps that we have for voting on 3 proposed maps that have been tweaked from the original 3, and then we'll vote and pick the map then. We might actually come to a consensus that we have 1 map, and that would be great, but let's keep it down to the 3.
If I may suggest, you might want to get to 1 map which you want to tweak, rather than having 3 maps that you are tweaking, so that you spend your time on the map that's most likely to get a majority of the commission. So don't get to a map and then tweak.
Okay. I had Arthur, and then I had Sam.
No, you answered the question. Basically, the information that we available to the public is the information that we've shared tonight. It will be a part of Facebook, where they can access it from there. Is there any place else on the website?
I will also get clean versions of the map that Commissioner Ahmad wanted to share, plus the one from David's group, the one from Jason, and I'll get, without like all these boundaries, we will post each one of those 3 versions clearly on the website tomorrow once I get all that information.
Okay, and then Sam?
Folks, I want you to know one thing. There's 11 of us. We have different opinions, as you can hear tonight. We're open to vigorous discussion and debate. But the one thing I think you should know is that this group has worked extremely well together. And the map that we produced is going to be our best effort, and I think that everyone in this county will appreciate them now and in the future.
Hear, hear. And we only have 1 minute left, so I don't want to cut Dean or Keisha off, but you guys have 30 seconds each. Go.
I just want to apologize again for whatever happened to my map. I will fix it and make sure that we're clear on it, okay? I'm sorry.
Keisha?
With the not having a public hearing, if it is possible for the comments that come from the public to be public on the website.
Sure. I mean, if we can do that, great.
I can look into it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Well, with that, folks, we're out of time. We're out of tech service. So October 20th is our next meeting, and that's when we vote to finalize the maps. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
One of the things we talk about a lot in the book